Hi and welcome to Getaway Stockholm8. This is the track with the executive producer's comments. I'm Mr.A and I will give you some inside information and some backstage information of this movie. I do this every year, and for those of you who have seen the previous movies, probably know my voice by now. First of all, we're introducing this new guy this year that we call Getaway Rider, and we're extremely proud to present this, and we think it turned out great. We have some competitors that found it amusing to have some extra material called GIS, GIS, which is Getaway Stockholm for short. So we decided to do our fun part as well, to name our character GR, Getaway Rider, and I hope that they have a sense of humor about this as well. And we just discovered in making this how much easier it is working with a motorcycle, how the action, how it turns out really great, and working with Getaway Rider, which is just it's been incredible. I mean, he's an extremely talented bike rider, and he's got nerves of steel, as you can see here, for instance, where he's just waiting and waiting. You saw earlier the cops were chasing him and he took off, and now he's waiting here. We tried to shorten this down, but then we decided not to edit within this clip because we think it's so great. Yeah, it's a regular Smokey and the Bandit shot where he chases them. I can just imagine the conversation in this cop car where they're 100% focused, looking ahead. They're going it's like 180 kilometers an hour chasing this madman on a motorcycle, and all of a sudden they look in the rearview mirror right about now, slamming the brakes, and he just hauls ass past them. And we thought this is a new approach to start the movie this way, with a chase scene to get you guys on your toes. Here's Mr. X. I found the cops driving around honking his horn to get their attention. It's kind of great. I think he honks his horn at the cops and runs a red light right in front of them. So I'd give a few bucks for that. the cop cars in the beginning, because we were hoping in this way to get some attention, to give them a chance to mobilize a little bit, to get all their forces together and to be on the lookout. So pretty much we're trying to be extremely creative in our ways, because it's not easy in Stockholm these days. With this trend, with making these movies, it's been quite a street racing Hollywood the past years since we started out. In the beginning, it was not a problem, but then they've discovered that there are movies made, and they have some directives not to follow cars with video cameras on them, and that also poses a small problem when you're standing on the side of the street. If you have outside filmers, we're always asked to have more and more cameras on the outside, and we usually start out by asking everyone we know to grab the camera and go out and stand there. But let's say 4 out of 5 nights, if it's raining, people get up at 4 in the morning, they have jobs to go to, and they go there and they stand on the side of the road, and it's cancelled because it's too wet outside or for some other reasons. When the 5th night comes, when you're supposed to film, not many people are that keen on getting out of bed and go do this and then go back home and then go to work a couple of hours later. So, and also it kind of tears on you to get ready every night and get up and look at the skies and the rain. It's raining. Here is also a lot of fast driving in this tunnel. We're talking about speeds around 180 miles an hour or 300 kilometers an hour. And the pity with this car is, with a big engine, is the sound. It can't compare to the tuned cars, but then again, now we have a car that will work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These tunnels are great for fast driving. They become very narrow at these speeds. Trust me, it's something that most people wouldn't do. A lot of the streets where we're driving now, I say this every year, Stockholm is only so big, so you'll probably see the same streets in the movies. It's not that we lack imagination, it's that if you want to puzzle this together and get the speed high enough in the driving around the city, you need to pass the same streets once or twice that's been in the movies before. We get a lot of questions about going to different cities. The thing is, for us, we feel that we know Stockholm fairly well, and if we would go to another country, which we had to do, because Sweden is not a big country, so Stockholm is the largest city, and it's almost too small for these kind of projects. But if we were to go, let's say, down to Central Europe or Southern Europe, there's a lot of added costs to this. If we have problems, let's say we have a flat tire here, it takes us about an hour to get new tires on the car. We can call people 24 hours and get all the support we need whenever we need something. The problem is, if we're in another country, we're all strange to the environment. So that's one of the reasons why we stay in Stockholm. But who knows, we might in the future just go ahead and shoot a film somewhere else. Who knows? Maybe it's time for an environment change after 8 movies. But first of all, we've changed the setup now with the motorcycle. Here Mr. X is driving down on one of the old docks. He's actually driving in the bicycle lane here, and I think we will get a lot of shit for that. But there is not that much people out this time of night. We're talking about 4 o'clock in the morning. And this is on the south part of Stockholm. What you will see in this movie is that we will go from we started up in the north side of town with a cop car, and then Mr. X drove the freeway to the south side, and now he's on the south side traveling back to the same spot where he started. Here is one of the external cameras that we had. It turned out pretty good. And it's always nice to see some outside action, but it's not that easy these days in Stockholm. If you stand on the sidewalk at 4 o'clock in the morning with a video camera and the cops drive by, they're going to ask you what you're filming, and if you start being hazy, they might even pick you up. Then they'll start asking you questions, and they will form a roadblock basically. Wait, because they have quite a feeling. I mean, we're not talking about stupid people here. They can pretty much figure it out. So everybody who sees somebody on the side of the street with a camera in Stockholm at night in the summer will take for granted that it is Getaway Stockholm being filmed, and many times they're right. So here is really high speed, and like I said, it's too bad with these 8-cylinder engines and the bigger engines of the cars, is that the sound doesn't turn out all that great. It's extremely hard to get the sound right, and we had the same problem with the Corvette in Getaway Stockholm 4 and with the Dodge Viper in Getaway Stockholm 6, because what you want is a little bit more exciting sound, but it's hard. It's very hard to get it right, and this is the best that we could get off on this one. And from what I've heard, they use these movies at the police academy here in Sweden, and they have the students look at the DVDs and write down all the traffic violations. I don't know if I would have even enough paper to write this down, because there's basically a traffic violation every 100 yards. Now we'll be hitting one of the shore sides here of Stockholm. Stockholm is built on water, so it's basically a whole bunch of islands connected. This particular island is where the main police station is, and we're always hoping for cop cars to show up here. It's one of the best bets for cop cars, but it's not that easy. We went down this street in Getaway Stockholm 5. The problem is with the cop cars is that we want to make the movies when there's the least people out, or at least in this case with the cars. With the least amount of cars, you always get the least amount of cops. So it's something we have to live with it. Straight ahead here is the City Hall that I always mention. I've mentioned it from the second movie, and I keep on mentioning it. It feels like my signature now. And I think it's a good measurement that we are downtown. Here on the left you have the central station, where all the trains arrive, and it's just to prove that how much downtown this is. This is the most downtown you can get in Stockholm. Take a left here. On the left side is the casino, and up here actually, if we waited a little while. There's a bus, and we actually did have one guy filming from the outside. Somehow Mr. X managed to time this, so as we pass the guy filming, he's on the other side of the bus, so he managed to miss him. All he heard was Mr. X, so he's hiding quite efficiently behind that. This is the same street we were going down in Getaway Stockholm8. To the left here is the police station, so we've pretty much circled it. I mean, the problem is we want to find the cops. People who try to stay away from the cops get busted, and we try to find them and we can't find them. So I guess we have to donate some money to the police force so they can afford to have more cops in the streets. So this is one of the longest Getaway Stockholm run that we've had so far. It's really zigzagging through the city and through downtown, and the problem is when we made this one, it was also extremely cold outside, or it was around 10 degrees Celsius. But then again, it's a four-wheel drive car, so that kind of takes care of that problem. Now Mr. X is heading for one of the biggest hospitals in Stockholm, or if it is the biggest one, I don't know, because here is also frequent where the cops drive frequently. Now straight ahead is the main police station for the traffic police in Stockholm. So Mr. X is keeping his hopes up. And now he's almost back to the point where it all started, where he had the first cop chase. So he's been circling around the whole city and hoping to see some more heat. Getting back up on the freeway here in a little while. This is actually the same location where, if you look in the beginning of this film, where Getaway rider is driving away from the cop car when it's filmed outside, it's actually this same street, and it's right here, because right up on the right side here is a small hill where the person filming was standing. So actually you see he'll be crossing over the bridge where Getaway rider disappears below or underneath. Okay, now we cut this together. The problem is that the tapes are only an hour, so sometimes when we look for the cops, the tapes run out of time. And here, if you see, the rear camera is blurry. It's because the person who changed the tapes, which was actually me, so it's my responsibility, I screwed up and I touched the zoom, so the camera get out of focus, but it's not always that easy when it's live. Your pulse is going, and you're short of time, and you have to get back out there and try to find the cops. We've actually had times, a couple of times with cop chases, where the driver thinks the tape is rolling, but he's been out for so long, so he's run out of tape. Might think it's an easy way just to keep an eye on the watch, but sometimes when there's a lot of pressure and you're 100% focused on your driving, it's not always that easy to keep an eye on what time it is, and if it was an hour ago or 2 hours ago that you started driving. It all kind of floats together after a while. So now we're going back to our favorite garage, where we've hung out now for the past few movies. We've been here in Getaway Stockholm8 and Getaway Stockholm8. And the thing is that I drove down the streets at 11 the same day, and just within an hour the traffic turned really bad. But then it's more action. So this is a little bit intense. He's supposed to take a full U-turn there and go back into the tunnel, but since that he came on the outside of that truck, he had to go down the street. And this is actually a little bit sentimental, because this is where Getaway in Stockholm, both 1 and 2, but first, most of all, Getaway in Stockholm 1 started. If you put that on, you will see that the movie starts beneath this bridge, and the Porsche heads up right up here before being pulled over. As you see, this is pretty insane. It was great for us to get this material together, to get this experience with filming of a motorcycle. It is so much easier than working with cars, and I mean, this is quite amazing. You have the sound. The sound is so much easier to record. You have the feeling of speed, and I mean, you can roll this thing into a van and just take off any place. With cars, you need garages, you need everything. And then, of course, you need an insane driver or rider or whatever you should call it. And this is kind of funny in the tunnels, because it's hard when we decide the routes. It's always hard to even get the drivers to go in the tunnels because they feel it's slippery, and we managed to get this guy down there without any problems, and he does it real well, going at 200 kilometers an hour, above 200 kilometers an hour in some places, which is 120 miles an hour. This is insane. I've seen this now before doing this commentary. I've seen this maybe 50 times, and I'm still sitting here rocking back and forth in this chair and getting a little bit of motion sickness. Have some outside shot here. I mean, it's insane that you can actually sell these bikes to people. I mean, I could just walk into a bike store and buy this bike, and they would let me, even if they shouldn't. And I don't think I ever would either, because I would live about 2 seconds or something like this before just smashing into something. This is the main freeway going through the city. You saw at the beginning when Mr.A was driving, going the other way. This is the only way to get through Stockholm, unless you drive on the city streets. This is the only freeway, so you can imagine the traffic here at noon. As you can see, it's getting quite intense, and I bet you there was more than one driver shitting in his pants when getting past here. The base speeds. The first time I saw this, I was kind of amazed that how you can ride a bike this way. And the reason I'm quiet is that I'm watching this as intensely as I hope you do. I'm kind of losing what I'm gonna say. It's kind of interesting probably for you guys too to see the city during the day as well. And it's so much easier to film. It's the cameras. It's not the same problems with the focus, with the lighting, with all that stuff. So you see it's coming down to the northern part. This is actually what it looks in the daytime, where Mr.A had that chase. It's about here. That's the last thing you saw, the bus earlier in the movie. So it's a completely different view. And here we go, hitting that same intersection in a little while here. Well, anyway, this is the end of it, and I hope you enjoyed this year's movie, and maybe we'll see you again. Who knows? Thank you for listening. Bye.